Hi, I'm Andrea Ivory, your host of Living for Longevity, a podcast designed to help you live your best life. Presented by the Women's Breast and Heart Initiative, a nonprofit organization that transforms and saves lives through disease prevention and early detection. Featured will be stories of triumph over tragedy, lifestyle experts, strategies to help you live a disease-deterrent life, and resources to guide you along the way so that you can live your best life and enjoy more time with family and friends doing the things that you love to do. I am honored to introduce our guest, Michelle Areces, a renowned chef, nutritional counselor, lifestyle and wellness coach, and she's also the CEO and founder of Keto Kitchen to Go, a company that creates and delivers gourmet organic meals in Miami. Michelle, welcome and thank you for being here.
Andrea, thank you so much for having me. It truly is an honor, and I hope that we can get to the bottom of what keto is today.
I look forward to it. I've got tons of questions for you, and I'm sure our listening audience and watching audience is going to be thrilled to learn from you. You know, nutrition is essential to our well-being. What we eat can build up our bodies. What we eat can destroy our bodies. But also what we eat can heal our bodies. And today, we're going to explore a style of eating that could possibly help you live your best life. Now, Michelle, let's get to it. Okay, so please tell me more about yourself.
Where should we start?
At the beginning. No.
At the beginning. Let me not put the audience to sleep. So basically, I went undiagnosed with Lyme for 10 years. Okay. Got bit again after 10 years, and I had been sick for a very long time, no answers. I attributed everything to stress from work, my lifestyle, etc. You always find answers as to why you don't feel well. But when I was bit a second time by a tick and contracted Lyme for the second time, it was too much for my body to handle. And that's where my journey began. I was a guinea pig of sorts, with homeopaths, with conventional medicine doctors, with functional medicine, with biohackers. I was told to go plant-based. I was told to go vegan. Then I was told to go vegetarian. So it was just a seesaw of suggestions and assumptions and theories to try to heal me. And I did what I was told because you trust in the medical system, whether it's natural or whether it's conventional. You trust that there's others that know more than you. And I was really in limbo. I knew nothing about nutrition. You know, I loved la creme de la creme and the cream of the crap. I was having filet mignon one night and McDonald's the other day. So I really didn't care.
Right.
You know, I didn't think it played a part in my well-being.
Wow.
You know, it just made me feel good because I was eating things that I liked, but I didn't realize how it was aiding whatever pathogens were living inside of me.
Wow.
To do more damage.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, tell me, what inspired you to transform your personal and professional life?
God, two things. Okay, when the doctor sent me home and basically threw in the towel, said there's nothing else we can do. From now on, it's all experimental. My veins had collapsed. They wanted to put a port in my chest. I was really, a shadow of myself. I came home, told my husband I was done fighting. It was too much for me to take. And he had heard that a ketogenic diet would actually help with Lyme disease. So, he said, why don't we try this? I know you're vegetarian, but, two thoughts went through my head. My daughter was 6 years old, and I said, when mommy dies, I don't want her to feel like I didn't do everything in my power to be here for her. And number two, I hadn't had a sausage in like 4 years. And I said, if I'm going to die, I'm going to take that sausage straight to my grave. And so that's exactly what I did. I didn't know what keto was. I knew it consisted of high fat, no carbs, a little bit of protein. So I think that night I had a little piece of sausage and a piece of cheese. And then again, a little later, I had a little piece of sausage and a piece of cheese. The next day, I walked myself from my bed to my bathroom, which I was unable to do without my husband's help. Okay. Just eating the little sausage and the cheese or the egg and the bacon, I started seeing huge improvements in my mind, in my pain, and in my ability to walk myself around.
Wow.
So I decided to stick to it. I had no idea what I was doing. And then fast forward 9 months, I go back to my homeopath, who had laughed at me when I told him I was going to try the ketogenic diet. He wasn't there, his partner was there, and he looked at me and he said, "You don't look good. You look too thin. I'm afraid the Lyme bacteria is active again, and we need to run blood work." I cried, Andrea. I thought, I feel better than ever, and this guy is telling me that I'm sicker than ever. I went home, told my husband, he's like, "Just wait it out, wait for the results." 2 days later, he calls me and he goes, "Kid, I don't know what you're doing, but keep on doing it because I can't find Lyme markers."
Nice.
I said, "Okay, perfect." I asked for my doctor.
Wow.
He said, "We're not discussing it, but Dr. So-and-so had a heart attack from Lyme, and he's practicing once a month." And I thought to myself, okay, that's when the light bulb went off. And I thought, as individuals, as patients, we need to ask questions. We need to test the system. We need to test their knowledge. Had I listened to him, I probably wouldn't be talking to you today.
Yes.
Because I was going down a very slippery slope and I wasn't getting any better. In fact, quite the contrary, a lot worse. And so I spent a year doing keto for my husband and myself, who subsequently, or coincidentally, had Lyme himself. He had acute Lyme, yes.
Wow.
I had chronic, he had acute. When I got bit the second time, he got bit for the first.
Can I ask you where all this biting was going on?
It can happen almost anywhere in the world. The first time I got bit in the outskirts of Madrid, and the second time I got bit in Austria. Wow. Florida has over 3,000 cases of Lyme.
Wow. Lyme disease, is that prevalent?
It's all over. The CDC released a statement years ago that said 9 out of 10 people have a tick-borne disease and they don't know it. And when you start analyzing the insect and the disease, the tick, whether it has Lyme or not, has 10 types of parasites and bacteria.
Wow.
That can be as debilitating or worse than Lyme. Okay,
Wow.
so, and we spend time in the yard. We have domestic animals. We go to farms. We go to the country. We go to Montauk. We go to the Northeast. You go skiing in Colorado or in woody areas. They're there.
They're everywhere.
And with climate change, it doesn't get cold enough to eradicate these millions of ticks.
Wow.
So there's a surplus today.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well, there's an adage that says we are what we eat.
Mm-hmm.
And according to a study published by the University of Washington, a poor diet is the cause of more deaths than tobacco, hypertension, and other high-risk disease, causing 1 in 5 deaths worldwide. But the good news is the effects of a poor diet can often be reversed
100%.
with better food choices. So now I'm going to toss it back to you and ask you if you can please explain what the term keto means.
Okay, so keto is basically, well, before I get into that,
Right.
just so
what
you
it
know,
means.
because this diet became popular because losing weight is a consequence
That was one of my
of
questions.
doing keto.
Yes.
Okay, but it was not created for this. Over 100 years ago, a doctor from the Mayo Clinic developed this therapeutic way of eating for children with epilepsy. Okay? And basically what keto is high fat, moderate protein, almost no carbs. And carbs from non-starchy, sugary vegetables and fruits.
Okay.
Okay? So basically when the body receives a properly macroed keto meal, and by macro I mean the percentages, which is typically 70% fat, 25% protein, 5% carbs, it forces a ketogenic response, which means your body is now burning fat for fuel versus glucose. Okay, we store fat, we don't store carbs.
Nice.
Okay, so I always compare it to the difference between a horse and a camel crossing the desert. Okay, the horse has to stop and replenish. The camel goes, not only because it has water in its humps, because it has fat. So when it needs energy, it goes to its own source. And that's what happens with someone who's on a ketogenic diet. The longer you're on keto, the less you eat.
Wow.
And the more energy you have.
So what does a typical keto meal consist of? Just if I'm going to sit down with Michelle, I'm going to have a keto meal. What does that look like?
Where are we going, first of all?
We're going to your house for keto.
My house, I have almost 500 recipes, so it can get complicated. But let's say we're going to an Italian restaurant.
Okay. There you
Okay?
go.
I would probably order a little bit of burrata, cheese, prosciutto, or a caprese salad, which is bufala, mozzarella, and tomato, okay, and olive oil. So it's as simple as that.
It's very simple.
If you want to, order some kind of protein, you can have a fish, okay, with a lot of olive oil. But usually, restaurants serve large portions.
Yes, they do.
So for women our size, okay, I would restrict the portion to 2 to 3 ounces.
Okay.
Possibly 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and then maybe a handful of cooked allowable vegetables like a broccoli or a cauliflower or asparagus. And then what happens is, if you introduce every little bit of protein that you have and douse it in fat before you put it in your mouth, as soon as the brain registers that you've ingested enough fat, you're done eating.
Wow.
So you don't overeat.
So it turns off. Oh, nice. It turns off the hunger.
Because fat, contrary to carbs, tell the brain you're done.
Wow.
Carbohydrates tell the brain you've got to keep going.
Wow. It's
Okay.
very interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a science behind it.
It's a total science behind it. And what happens is that when you first start depriving the body of sugars and carbohydrates, remaining carbs trigger cravings. And so the trick is to give it a keto meal to stop the noise.
Wow. I love it.
And
I love it.
eventually, when we balance out your glucose, you stop having those cravings.
So we mentioned a little bit, well, you talked a little bit about weight loss. What other physical benefits does keto bring?
Okay, well, I'm not allowed to say it's factual, but I've had over 3,000 clients, and each of them have been a case study. And a lot of studies show that, number one, neurological benefits.
Oh,
Okay, it was developed for epilepsy.
right.
Okay, so it creates an anti-inflammatory process in the body. So it quiets the brain. Okay, it starves pathogens. It resets your gastrointestinal tract. It helps starting to rebuild the microbiome. Okay, it helps with cholesterol markers. Even though it's a high-fat diet,
Wow.
the true blockers are sugar and carbs. If you have fat with no sugars and carbs, fat burns fat.
Interesting.
And yet, most cardiologists will tell you, eat a low-fat diet, don't have red meat, don't have dairy, but they never talk about the sugars and the carbs. And sugar and carbs doesn't mean a cake. Sugar and carbs means anything, including
Bread.
fruits, that turns into this beautiful bowl right here. The only thing I can have out of this bowl is the avocado.
Okay, right, in your diet.
And not even a whole avocado,
Just this-
because that has 16 grams of carbs.
Wow.
So it's a very scientific formula that seems easy to understand, but takes a little while to actually grasp.
It's really exciting to hear you talk about it with such enthusiasm. So I'm going to ask, what inspired you to start a keto meal delivery service?
What inspired me? A sick client. This was never supposed to be a business. Okay? I was eating keto. I was cooking keto for my husband and I. We're both big foodies, and we got bored of the sausage and cheese thing. I never thought I'd get sick of bacon. I got sick of bacon. So I said, I need to live on this because I went bankrupt trying to heal myself. And since I started keto, I have spent 0 on medication. I do my annual blood work and so forth, but it was just shocking to me. So fast forward a year into us starting to eat keto, I get a call from a friend, and she says, listen, my friend's son has Lyme disease. Can you talk to them? Okay, the doctors really don't know what to do. Can you talk to him about how you're eating at home? And coincidentally, because the universe is perfect, I happened to be home taking care of my daughter who had the flu, but I couldn't go to work because I had gone broke and didn't have a nanny.
Wow.
So the child calls me. The child, he's 27, calls me, and I explained to him what to do, and he says, Mishi, it sounds great, but I'm bedridden.
Oh, my.
And I'm a workaholic. I was going crazy taking care of my daughter as much as I love her, being homebound. So I said, you know what? I will cook the meals for you. Okay, while I'm here, have your girlfriend come over and pick them up. Within a week, he was walking.
Wow.
Then word got out that I was doing this, and one of his friends that had cancer called me, did the meals. He started feeling better. He was going through chemotherapy and was very weak and in bed. And his oncologist noticed that his inflammation markers were going down. So he stayed on it. And then, he said, and she said, and he said, and she
word
said.
of mouth.
And I found myself preparing 160 meals a day out of my home, okay, having friends show up at the end of the day and take food to these people as a favor that I had packaged, and then flipping my house back to a real house by the time my husband got home. So he wouldn't be all freaked out. So I was doing this for about 6 months. And then I realized there's something here. This is helping people. This is not about food. It turned into conversations. It turned into listening to people that had no one to talk to. I think the loneliest thing for me is when you're chronically ill, nobody wants to hear it. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves you when you're happy and cheerful and, ready to put on makeup and go out. But when you're sick, everybody's tired of hearing you don't feel well. Right. And they can't empathize. Right. Because they've had a cold or they've had a flu, but they don't know what it's like to be in so much pain that you can't get dressed, or you can't brush your teeth, or, walking to the bathroom is equivalent to hiking Mount Kilimanjaro. So anyway, so sorry, that's like close to my heart. And so a lot of these people found someone to talk to. So it not only turned into a business of feeding people, it turned into a business of helping people get things off their chest, no matter how difficult it was. That's also a part of healing.
Yes, it is.
Because if you hold all that pain inside, it just prolongs whatever it is you're going through.
Yes.
So we focus today, now that it's a business and we've helped so many people, we focus today on a holistic approach, on a mindful approach to healing. This works because it starves pathogens and it's anti-inflammatory and gives you energy and endurance, okay, because it forces the body to burn fat for energy. But no matter what you're eating, if you don't have the exercise, the smiles, the laughter, the positive influences, that shoulder to cry on, because nothing is ever perfect. So no matter how happy you are, there's moments in life. And that's what we provide our clients.
It's not just a meal.
It's not just the meal. We do the coaching. We hold your hand. I'm working with an individual right now that is very injured through medication. And he's gained about 60 pounds. He's, what's the other thing? He's diabetic and so forth. And I was happy to see how his doctors were open to listening to me.
Wow.
They put him on Ozempic the other day because he's a candidate. But Ozempic doesn't work with keto.
Oh.
Because the reason keto works is because every time you eat a meal, you force the body to reduce inflammation. If you're not hungry, the body doesn't do anything. When you don't eat, you're in fight or flight. when you inject an individual like this that's on my program with Ozempic, you take away his appetite and you force the body into a thermogenic state that's not natural.
Wow.
Okay? And so it's a wash. So I called the doctor and I said, listen, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I'm happy to take him off the plan and you do your thing, but we can't do this together. It's going to be dangerous for him. The doctor was like, I thought I was helping you because he likes junk food.
Oh, no.
And I thought this would suppress his need for junk. And when I explained to her, she was so beautiful. She was like, no, you do what you got to do. This is in the fridge, and if it's needed, it's there, but it doesn't have to happen. So, coming from the medical community, that's huge.
Yes.
They put their ego aside, and they approach this with heart. And so it's a beautiful change that's happening little by little.
Wonderful.
Where they're listening to the patient and they're listening to alternative methods of healing.
Thank you so much for what you do. And based on your own personal and professional experience, what advice could you give to our audience so that they can see a difference in their lives?
Oh my God, start by eating clean, even if you don't do keto. Check the labels. There's so many chemicals, so many hormone disruptors, so many cancer-producing ingredients. Seed oils. Seed oils cause up to 2 years of inflammation in the body. Read, and read. Try to limit your diet to just whole foods. Less is more. And limit the toxicity. The air is dirty. Don't drink from plastic. Okay? Do whatever you can to detoxify, because we coexist with disease. Human beings coexist with trillions of dormant bacteria, viruses, cancer cells, and our body is so magnificent that it allows for a toxic load. But we overload it, and that's where disease takes over our life. And so once a year, do a detox. Detox your liver. Okay? Do some sort of fast occasionally. Believe it or not, check into parasite cleansings. We all have parasites. Parasites have been linked to so many diseases. So from cancer, from Alzheimer's, dementia. So just release your toxic load once a year, eat clean and read labels. And laugh and go outside and get sun and love and just be happy. Nothing heals the immune system more than happiness. Smile for no reason. Let a neighbor know they look good today. Or, let a stranger know that, you saw them. Say hi.
Wow. Just the little things.
Little things. Little things. That, releases positive hormones. And people don't realize how important it is to do a little bit of those things every day. Every day. So.
We're singing a song. Well, now, thank you so much. This has been extremely thoughtful conversation. And I'd like to do a wrap up just to look at some basic nutritional things that we can do, outside of keto. We already talked about it, like eating more fruits and vegetables and, proteins is so important because people don't understand.
Believe it or not even fruits and vegetables.
But people here don't even eat fruits and vegetables. They don't even go to the aisle. They don't go to the aisles.
But stop eating processed
That was
food.
the next thing.
Stop eating processed food. All of it. Let go of the cereals. Let go of the chips. I know it's hard to teach your kids not to want chips, but there's chips out there that are made with avocado oil, which is not inflammatory. There's clean chips. You know what? It costs a little more, but in the long run, it
doesn't.
costs less.
That's right. In the long run, it doesn't.
When you have a child that's dealing with metabolic disorders or hormonal issues, or ADHD, that treatment's going to cost you a lot more
than abstaining and
a
paying
natural
just a
bag
little
of
bit
chips.
more. Yes, and drinking plenty of water. We talked about
hydration.
That. Hydration is key.
Hydration.
Reducing your carbohydrates, your sugars, your saturated fats, and certainly sodium. You have to reduce.
Hold on, saturated fats. Keto is all about saturated fats.
Well, you can't have too much. I said reduce. You have to do everything in moderation.
Exactly. If you're not
in moderation.
going to do keto, okay, get yourself animal protein that's clean, no hormones, no antibiotics, grass-fed from start to finish, ingest a little bit of that protein every so often because that helps repair tissue.
Yes.
That helps with fatty acids. That helps with enzymes. That helps with vascular health, blood clotting. It has so many benefits.
We do need to eat more protein.
Yeah.
We have to figure it out, whether it's nut, whatever it is, we have to eat more protein. And just like you said, avoid processed food.
Processed food is death.
It is. It's
death.
unfortunate, but it's all around us, and they make it. They package it, and make it look.
Oh
pretty.
no, I see it. My daughter goes to a school that's gluten-free, sugar-free, organic. I'm
Nice.
blessed.
Nice.
But if you don't have that option, because most schools don't, instead of sending your kid off to school with cereal and cow's milk, you know what? Get yourself a little bit of salmon, a little bit of avocado, or an egg and a little bit of avocado, and all the cholesterol in that meal, just for the start, is going to feed their brain.
Wow. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation because we are actually educating our audience because people don't know. And I'm so glad that you came here with us today. And in closing, I just want to take this moment to offer gratitude. First, I'd like to thank Maurizio Costa. He is a high school student. He is wise beyond his years. He is exceptional, and he has his own nonprofit organization as a junior in high school. His nonprofit organization focuses on teaching the next generation how to be civically engaged. He is preparing the leaders of tomorrow. He's doing great work here in Miami-Dade, throughout the state, and next week he's going to Washington, D.C. to work with senators. So remember his name. Yeah, remember that name, Maurizio Acosta. You remember that name. And to the town of Miami Lakes Mayor Manny Sid, thank you so much for just suggesting that we host this podcast. We are in his office, who has a podcast studio in his office. He invited us in, and we couldn't thank him enough. And then to you, our dear guest, Michelle Areces. Keep cooking, keep serving, keep shining, and keep living your best life. I am your host, Andrea Ivory. Tune in next month for yet another episode of Living for Longevity, a podcast designed to help you live your best life. Supported and presented by the Women's Breast and Heart Initiative, a nonprofit organization that transforms and saves lives through disease prevention and early detection. Please follow us, like us. We are social. Please subscribe to this podcast. Socially, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at the WBHI, and then on Instagram and X, we're at WBHI. Well, thank you so very much for joining us, and until next time, live your best life.